Hello there, and welcome to The Woman Within, a podcast for the woman you are beneath all the roles. I'm your host, Nicole.
And I'm your co-host, Sarah. We invite you to slow down, tune in, and make some much-deserved space for yourself as you listen and reflect on today's episode.
If today's conversation speaks to you, we'd love to stay connected. Join our mailing list for updates and future offerings. You can find the link in the show notes below.
And one more small ask to help us grow. If you think this episode would resonate with someone you know, please share. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
We're neighbors.
We're neighbors now. She just moved 10-ish minutes from me in the same hood.
And we had dinner, not last night, but the night before. And it was so fun.
It was so nice.
And our kids are friends now.
I know. They're like basically betrothed.
They're so cute. What's the definition of betrothed?
When parents basically agree that their children are going to be married.
Oh, yes.
They're betrothed. I watch a lot of period pieces, so that's where that comes from. But Rhea is leading Theo around by the hand, his house.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I don't know what's happening, but I love it.
It's so, and that's so interesting to me because like Theo normally is like, so he just goes, and Rhea's like very sensitive typically in like new environments and around new people. But like Theo's the opposite, and he like craves that newness, and not that Rhea doesn't, but just generalizing. And so like them together, seeing the roles sort of switch is like so interesting.
Very interesting. I think what you're seeing in Rhea, I think you saw it. You saw the real Rhea, and it's all the real Rhea, but that goofy, expressive, loud side that when you guys just popped over. And yeah, it seems like what we're able to see now, and they're kind of opposite in that like when you really get to know Theo, he relaxes around you. And when you really get to know Rhea, she comes out of her shell. It's kind of cool. It's kind of beautiful.
It's kind of masculine and feminine, like this stereotypical,
Totally.
Just,
which I'd say our kids are pretty polar when it comes to that.
Yeah.
That lens of looking at things. I do want to open with something that I feel like you might be able to relate to and speak on, just because you did move, and when you move, there's never not something to do. And I could imagine like a very large to-do list. But I've been trying to like up my productivity, cook, prep, meal prep, I started working on social media again, and, deliverables and all of these things, setting goals for myself that are usually around productivity or around wellness, working out. And I'm having this experience where when I make a list, even if I get 6 things on the list done, I'm almost thinking I should make my list like 3 or 4 things. Because like if I make a list of 10 things, even if I get more than half of it done, I feel like I'm always setting myself up for failure and the feeling of dissatisfaction, no matter how productive I am. Because like I'll be super productive with my time, but then it's like, I'm coming to you with castor oil in my hair. I was supposed to shower before this. I was supposed to cook before this. And here I am, greasy as a motherfucker. I ate a protein bar for lunch.
Like, where are you going with this? But yeah, just productivity. I'm just
curious to know how you like.
Yeah,
just curious to know like how you handle productivity.
My husband would just laugh at this question and how I'm going to answer it. I can just like hear him. But like I am not that productive, I don't think, because my bandwidth to do so I would say I'm not as productive as you are in getting things done, because I am definitely like, I feel like I need the space to do certain things, and so I'll wait to do certain things until I have the space. And in motherhood, that's like not really but I will say, so that's my weakness and how I can procrastinate. But what I do feel like I lean into with productivity is I try and do as much as I can with Theo, especially since he's not napping really these days. It's like, okay, I'm just going to do it all because I have to do the laundry. I have to make food. We all got to eat, And so I feel like those things that I can do with him because I've embraced that, I've been able to get those things done. And like even showering and stuff, I'm like, I just bathe with him at night. I just do. I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to get a shower tomorrow by myself, so I'm just going to do it right now. And that's our special time together, which we've kind of talked about that. But so it's a combination. Well, I mean, it seems like this is sort of present for you. Does it have anything to do with just like some of the deeper work you've been doing around your younger self and your teenage self?
Yeah. I probably like some more. Doesn't it
Probably.
all?
I guess I'm just like curious about because you did a lot of integrating while we were moving and stuff with that with your teenage self, and a lot of it's I think because you've been on your sober journey. And even though again like I wouldn't categorize you as anywhere near an alcoholic, but nonetheless sober journey. But yeah, I mean, you've been like, I remember you told me, I feel like my teenage self and me now, we've like sort of merged,
Mm,
and there's not like that separation and differentiation. I
mhm.
just want to know, I just want to hear more if it's something you want to get into
Yeah.
about like what that process, like how it continued to unfold. Cause we did talk about it
Yeah.
on the pod.
Mhm.
Um, but that was like over a month ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, like, where we kinda left off with that.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about like the visualizations and just like meeting ourselves. What I remember that you shared with me was like that version of yourself was like very closed off and you were like having trouble connecting with her.
Mm,
And so, like, was there a certain unfolding of her opening up? And then you had like releases too.
mhm. Yeah. Thanks for asking
Yeah,
and being curious
of
about this.
course.
Yeah. I feel like the month of January, it was like the last week of December to the first week of February was kind of like an intensive for healing for me. And there was a lot of emotional release, but a lot of like reclaiming parts of myself that I had. The system that my therapist uses is internal family systems. So IFS, and the word that they use is exiled,
Mm.
the part of you that's exiled. And then so there's a part of you that the needs weren't met, and the pain of that part of you is so great that a part of you develops like a callus to protect that part of you. And so that part stays kind of frozen in time developmentally. And you could say your psyche, personality, ego develops around it. And so what we were doing was like going back and remembering and reclaiming. So like bringing her out of exile and making contact and going back and meeting her needs. And yeah, there was like, I'd like go in and be in my old car from when I was a teenager. And she'd be like letting me in closer and closer in our old bedroom. And then eventually, yeah, had some conversations with her, emotional release. Um, and I'd say like the most profound experience that we had was in my old car, and we're just driving through an old construction zone. And that's what I used to do. I just used to like listen to emo music and just like drive around and just like zone out, cry, because that was like a place I could take up space. And
Safe.
yeah, it was safe to be me. We were there. And yeah, I was just like feeling her, feeling some rage, feeling some darkness. Like I remember just like coming up to it and touching what was beneath the callus. And my eyes flung open and I looked at my therapist and I was like, there's still so much darkness there. There's still so much pain. She's like, okay, just see if you can stay with it. And this was the day before we left to California for 10 days, the beginning of January. Yeah, so we
Mm-hmm.
didn't talk about
Mm-mm.
it. And I just like let it out. I just like let her feel through me. And she didn't speak to me at that first like contact, the first real contact, but she showed me what was inside still. So it was still like profound. And I just remember like getting off that therapy appointment and just being like in darkness. I was like, I remembered it it was so validating, Sarah, because I remembered how much pain I was. I remembered how much pain I was at that time. Because I think part of my healing process and coming out of all of that was gaslighting myself and just being like, I was just an angsty teen and I was just being dramatic and, but I was like, oh no, that was all real. Like that was all really real. And I was packing and I just texted my parents. They had Rhea and I was like, I need you to keep Rhea as long as you can. I can't be a mother right now. Like I'm so reeling from this therapy session. And literally, like, was just like in his daze walking around my house the whole night in a daze. Ryan came home. I was like, I had a really intense session. I don't want to talk about it, which is very teen of me, like turning inward. But I had a higher knowing that this was not me regressing into this. This was me letting this emotion move through me. And so I was just like, let this happen. Just let this happen. Like, don't disassociate. You don't even need to give it to anyone. Like, this is just what you need to be in. Next morning, we woke up on the way to the airport. I was still in it. My dad drove us to the airport and I was just like, Poppy, when was, my brother had a really challenging childhood and consumed my parents at that time. And so I was like trying to contextualize. I was like, what was going on in my life? Like I was trying to understand her, wanted to know what was going on in my home life. So I was asking my dad questions and he was like, why are you thinking about that? And I was like, there's something I'm working on in therapy. And then he got like reflective and I was like, those were really challenging times. And he was like, the most challenging of our lives. Like it was for him too, for all of us, gosh. And then I'm on the plane. Freya was an angel and I'm so grateful. She was an angel. Dad was there. Like Ryan was there. And so Ryan's like, you being you go through whatever you're going through, and I'm gonna I got Rhea. And we're sitting on the plane, we take off, and I'm just in my funk. And a baby starts crying in the back. And I'm trying to be in my shit. I'm trying to like be in this. And there's just this baby that keeps pulling me out of it. And I look at Ryan and I said, and everyone on the plane is like turning around. Like this child was screaming bloody murder. Like it was insane. And I've been there and it's so hard. It's so hard because like your child needs you to regulate, but it's dysregulating that everyone's
looking at you. You're like, I know my kid is the one screaming. I'm trying to get him.
Exactly. So I turned to Ryan and I said, if we lived differently, like if we lived truly as villagers, I would walk back there and I would say, give me your baby, go reset, go to the bathroom. Ryan's like, do you have bandwidth for that with like everything you're going through? And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to be like in my funk. Okay. Yeah. And I just like went back to it and then keep screaming. People keep turning around. And I just said to myself, all right, I'm going to turn around. And if this woman has a grandparent, a husband, another sibling that can help the situation, I'm not going to go back there. But if I turn around and this woman is alone with this child, I'm going to go back there. So I turn around and this poor woman, this poor mother is holding her screaming child forehead to forehead and her eyes are closed. And she's just trying to contain this 18-month-old, not really a baby, a toddler. And I saw her face and I just got up and the seatbelt light was still on. So like, it wasn't even like, and I just knelt next to her. I put my hand on her arm and I said, you don't know me. I don't know you, but I have been where you are right now. And it's really challenging. How can I support you? And she's like, she just wants to walk around. She doesn't understand. She doesn't have language yet. And I was like, come sit with us. I was like, come sit with us. I have a 22-month-old, whatever Rhea was at that time. Maybe she'll distract her. And it's so funny. I brought the screaming child up towards us and Ryan was like, what?
You are not staying in your bubble and working through your funk, babe.
No, but Brian's also like, why are you bringing this?
And true. You're like, you're making us part of this. What?
And then Rhea was just an angel. Rhea shared her snacks. She shared her books. She shared her toys. I was talking to the mom. The mom regulated and then the baby regulated, fell asleep. And yeah, it was just like this moment of like service. And afterwards, I was reflecting and I was like, I was like, "Oh my God, was that my codependence? Like someone was uncomfortable on the plane and I couldn't stay grounded in my own experience. I had to go fix or rescue someone. Like, is that an old pattern?" But then I came to like the realization that that was my higher self. And the way through the remedy for I'm going to call it depressive episodes, where there's a lot of like self centered thought that is self-loathing and self-deprecating and like I was trying to be on the plane. The remedy for that, and I'm not talking about um like hormonal imbalance depression, I'm talking about like just thought patterns,
Mm-hmm.
is service. That is the remedy, is service, is stepping outside yourself and being of service. And it was like, it gives me chills still to this day, because it was like this reminder that no matter what work I do, it's only going to clarify and purify and strengthen that pathway for me. That like that is part of who I am. That's part of who I am, is like showing up in the world and being a friend even to people that I don't know, And so yeah, and then that gave me that experience of like being so in the depths with it, and then like still having a straight pathway to my higher self, gave me the confidence to be like, I can do this work. I can go back and I can sit in the reality of my past, let it release, and also like still show up as a parent, still show up as a villager, as a wife, as a daughter. And it hasn't been perfect. But yeah, we've just been kind of going back, it's like less easy for me to see teen self. So we're just going all the way to like 3 months old, and just like holding her when I was being sleep trained, and just, going in and meeting the need, the emotional need. And it's really freaking cool work, honestly.
Yeah, that was so cool. That was such a great story.
Thank you.
Like I have chills and like tearing up over here. So I'm so glad I asked.
Thanks for asking and
Yeah,
listening.
that was like a way better conversation than whatever we were trying to talk about before.
What
But
resonated with you? Like what
well,
hit you?
I love uh, there's just several things. And just with like this where you went with the plane and like being able to see that woman and know what to say to her and know what to do is like definitely a gift of yours. Cause I definitely, I don't think, my way of servicing and seeing people is the same. And I think it's so amazing that you in the moment can be like, I know what she needs to
Mm,
hear and do, and that's just so cool. I was thinking about something the other day in terms of like village like that. I'm like, why don't we just, it would be so cool if we just did stuff like that. I can't remember what I was thinking about. So like for you to tell this story is like so cool, and it's definitely in your heart to, I mean, like that's been a theme that's come up so many times for you in our conversations, is like bringing the village, like actually being that, even though in many situations we're strangers, but like how can you be, and you are, like, you're such a great example of what that looks like in today's world. And that was a beautiful example, because so many, I mean, I've been on planes with screaming kiddos too, and it's like, well, it's not my kid, I got my kid, so I'm like, I'm tapped out, like I don't have the bandwidth to go over there. So just that alone is just so inspiring. And I know that there's going to be women who listen to this and are like, wow, that's so inspiring. I'm so inspired. But it's like so old. It's like so old soul, and in a plane, in the freaking air. You guys are flying through the air. It's like so modern day.
mm, mm, mm.
But okay, so that's part one of reflections. Part two that I think is beautiful, and then I'll end with the part three question. That's where I'm going.
Okay.
Part two is, I was like, wow, this is so cool that your parents are in proximity, where you were able to share some of that with your dad. And he
Mm,
was also able to like give you more context in real time, which is, yeah, I mean, that's incredible. I'm like, I think that's so great that he's also now has an opportunity to think about that time and the fact that it was so hard. And yeah, that they're here, I think it's different than like being able to, it's just, you can call your parents and be like, hey, ask them questions, but the fact that they're here
mm.
and in close proximity, and like they're also integrated with Rhea is also like so cool and like full circle. And like you doing this work is like going out into your parents as well too, just by association. Okay, and then I feel like I'm voice noting you right now.
I know,
Okay.
I love this.
So the darkness, I'm curious about like what, well, and I also know like you had a suicide attempt, and that was probably it. I mean, my assumption is that like it was rooted in feeling this
hmm
darkness, right?
hmm
And so I guess I just want to hear more about like where it came from. I know like some of it was like not your needs not being met, but like yeah, do you have more context for it?
I've been like trying to think about how to answer questions like these without painting my parents to seem neglectful or like
But do you feel, is that like where you feel like it is rooted in?
um my parents had parents that were not physically present in their lives. And just like the safety of like when I get home from school, I know my mom's going to be there, like the safety that provides for a child. I know my dad comes home every night and has dinner with me. Like my parents didn't have that.
Hmm.
So, but my parents gave that to us. And so I know that they did their work and like they didn't have the awareness. Like I asked my mom, I asked my dad what was going on in our lives. I asked my mom, did you have any idea I was depressed? She's like, not a clue. She has, I had no idea. I was like, what? I felt like I was just a cloud walking around. Like, how did you miss that? And I think I would never miss that with Rhea. I would never. I mean, I think I'm hyper vigilant. I'm like two. I don't want to say helicopter parent, but I'm hyper aware of what's going on in her experience. And I think it's overcorrecting, right? But yeah, I just think being a deep feeler, not having a safe place to put my feelings, not having tools to, I didn't understand that when you're sad, you won't always be sad. If my sadness lasted for a month and I couldn't get it to go away, I was like, I'm going to be sad forever.
Mm.
I'm going to be lonely forever. I'm literally alone. I'm alone in this internal world and I have no one to talk to. No one listens. No one cares.
Yeah. So it's almost like your that emotional state felt like permanent.
Yeah. And I didn't understand you don't understand as a teenager, like that unless you have someone teach you, like, hey, this is going to be, and that's part of what I've been doing with my teen or what I did with my teen is, hey, listen, like you're actually going to use this pain and you're going to impact a lot of people. You're going to share your story. You're going to do amazing things. You're going to have a child, you're going to get married and give her hope. Give her hope, that version of myself, which was really fun. Introduce her to Rhea, introduce her to Luna, just to like show her, hey, this isn't like you're very doomsday right now. But yeah, I just think it was a loneliness. That's what it was. And I think a lot of people can relate to that in their teen years. Do you feel like that's something you experienced in your teen years?
Yeah, I would say not to the same intensity, but I do remember feeling sadness, and that's where I feel like I had modalities that came through naturally. One of them was dance. And that was like, oh my gosh, like so I remember I loved dancing to sad songs. Like when we had sad, like lyrical is a type of dance. And it's, very like soft and flowy. And it's usually to like some emotional song. Therapy. You know what I mean? And you
Somatics.
practice the same. Yeah. So it's like body, music, feeling, and it's performing, right? You want to be in that emotional state. And so I think that having that from my middle school years through high school was so helpful for me. And music, I think by association with the dance kind of became that outlet. So I just remember having songs that I would just listen, a lot of sad songs,
Yeah.
And I do also remember though, even though my relationship to my parents is different than yours, and I'm the youngest child, my brother and I are 4 years apart. So, we both like had really intentional space, I feel like, with my mom and my parents individually. But I also didn't feel like they were a safe space for me to like open up to. And so I feel like that is probably, and I think that's developmentally pretty common in the teenage years.
Mm.
And again, it's not like totally um the only thing that was contributing to your situation and how you were feeling. But typically it's like you need somebody, another trusted like mentor.
Mhm.
And that's something I feel like I did not have as a teenager.
Mm.
But I'm so grateful for having dance. Like I feel like that was huge support for me unknowingly,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, like, just came in at the right time.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that because as I was cataloging those years, I was swimming in high school, and I look back and remember feeling connection and joy during swim season and community,
Mhm.
and I was moving every day, swim practices every day after school, so, yeah, it's interesting, like, how unknowingly my need for movement today was, like, rooted at that time, and so was yours.
Well, and like structured community,
Yeah.
cuz like I feel like as Scorpios, not that that's the only way to look at this, but we value loyalty and consistency to build trust with people over time in order to feel safe enough to open up. So like I remember you shared with me the sitting at lunch situation.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, I remember being like with a group of friends and I was like, great, I sit at the same spot. This is where I sit, like amazing. And then like they would change and they would move. And I'm like, it just felt so like dysregulating to
Yeah,
me. And so I think, that's could be another way to look at it.
part of it, yeah.
Yeah. And just, our personalities and um, what we need in order to feel safe enough to share those emotions with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how as deep feelers, it's like we need a lot to be able to get there, but like we also need that space. Like it's not like a want. It's like I need
Mhm.
this space.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting you said like developmentally it's common. I was going to ask you what what do you think your parents could have done slash what do you think you can do to create an environment where you did feel safe to share, and also that Theo, when he gets to that place, feels safe to share.
Yeah, I know. Great. So those are great questions. Well, one thing my mom and I have talked about this before. We had actually had a pretty good conversation. Asked her specifically. I was like, what are your reflections about our teenagers and you guys as parents? Like, what was your experience like? And she basically was like, I just thought you were fine. Like, I thought you had a good head on your shoulders. I thought you had good values. Like, you were on the dance team. Like, I had things to like keep me disciplined. And like another thing that was just a weird experience for me as a teenager was my grandma passing away, my mom's mom. And that was another situation outside of like my own personal stuff and navigating like boyfriend stuff, right? That situation was so weird because it wasn't like talked about.
Mm.
And so that was basically what my mom said was like, I wish I would have asked you more questions about just like how you were feeling and creating more space for us to like have intentional conversations. Cause she basically I don't think she knew how to do it. And I don't think she had the tools. Like literally just like asking the question, and making space for it and just giving me an opportunity to share whether I would have or not, I don't know. But I think that modeling the open communication, the safety, this and even too, I think if she would have just shared more of how she was feeling, I think that's the key.
Because it would have normalized
Yeah.
whatever was going on inside of you. Because as a teen, you just don't know that. I mean, the emotions are so intense. I mean, I think about it like this must be what it's like to be a toddler in a way.
Mhm.
Everything is new and
And you have hormones,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. And then the dynamics of like the politics of cliques and
Yeah.
popularity and all of that.
And boyfriends or, whatever, just like navigating your sexuality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Body stuff. Like there's
Mhm.
just so many things. Yeah, it's interesting. You said earlier as Scorpios, and you don't have to be a Scorpio to resonate with that.
Right.
Like one thing that I identified and like owned in my sobriety journey is this what we're talking about, is this concept of like, I'm a slow burn kind of girl. And if I'm not going to use alcohol to blast past my nervous system and open up and be this like jovial, charismatic person with people I don't know, I need reps. I need someone to like show intention and consistency. And it's interesting, when I went in with my teen, it took multiple tries of me just sitting with her, me asking her, just looking at me and turning away. Like I had to model that. And then eventually she opened up. So yeah, it's like, I wonder, like, it probably would have been like that with our parents too, if they would have tried, is like just the reps.
Mhm.
Or, I mean, I see content on social media that like really makes me hopeful to be able to do it differently. Like right now, I'm Rhea's safest place. She's sick right now. She wanted to just be on my chest all day yesterday. And I know that there's a differentiation process that happens, especially in teenage years, that's necessary. But my hope is that that nervous system safety, emotional safety, that the pathways that we're forming now are enough. They're enough. And the continued work at like curiosity and what are you feeling? And
Mhm.
here's what I'm feeling, you know? Yeah. So yeah, curious to know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like I can't know for sure, but I mean that's I think basically a way to sum it up is, and we've said it before, is modeling it. It's not always like trying to be like, "Hey, what are you feeling? What are you feeling?" Well, it's like if I'm not sharing what I'm feeling, why would my son or my daughter feel safe enough
Yeah.
to share with me what they're feeling? So yeah, it's just like, all right, let's pin that for
Yeah.
the teenage years. But I'm actually, well, having a son, it probably feels different than having a daughter and thinking about like the teenage years. But I'm actually excited for it. I don't know why. But I'm like, I think it's going to be so fun. And maybe that will be more, because I do feel like I have wounds from teenage years, but it doesn't feel like needing to be worked on right now, like as present as it's been for you. But I do feel like I'm like at real time.
Yeah.
He's in toddler mode. I'm like, okay, I've been really met with my toddler self, and things
Mm,
that I did as a toddler that he is sort of doing in his own way. So when we get to that phase, it'll be the time.
yeah.
I'm a rat now kind of girl.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're doing toddler work in your work?
Well, I think I was. I think I'm through it. And actually, this is actually perfect because he's made progress. Oh my,
He's like a different kid. And not
like,
entirely. Like,
no.
he's an amazing kid. He's always been an amazing kid, but like behaviorally with other children, I'm like,
Dude, it's insane.
it was so
I mean,
beautiful.
I don't think we've really
You weren't in a place to talk
talk
about it.
about
If
it.
you want to talk about it, please do share.
I feel like I feel like the crossover, because so my toddler self, I guess I'll start there because, yeah, I was a feisty toddler is what my mom would say. And I would bite kids. I was a biter. I was a biter. Me? But yeah, and so I knew that. I've known that, right? I've known that. I was a biter. I was a feisty toddler. That was just how I was described by my parents. And we have so many family videos and pictures. My dad was like, "Do you guys have did your family do that? Like family?" Okay. So anyways, so I have like a ton of footage from, my childhood and context, for what I was doing. But so when Theo, I don't exactly remember how old he was. I want to say he was like 14, 15 months. It was like shortly after he was a year old. I remember I was with my mom at the Wow Museum. It was July. It was right around July. So he was
13, 14.
14 months. And he just ran up to this baby who was like crawling and just like destroyed him. Like he just like grabbed him, grabbed his hair and just was like, ah!
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was like the first time that you
Well,
saw him.
that's like one of the early, like really intense ones where I was like, what are you doing? Like, I
Yeah.
don't understand what's happening. And anyways, and so he would just run up to kids and like hit them on the head or, run up to them and give them these like, you could call it a hug, but it was like a grabbing, squeezing
Yeah.
type hug. And I just was like, why? I don't understand this, and people would be like, oh, he's a boy, like boys are just physical. I'm like, no, this doesn't seem like he's just being a boy. And I, like all of our friends and everything,
It was
wasn't seeing
unique.
anybody else with this type of behavior. And so, yeah, I mean, I just was trying to figure out the best way to manage it and model for him without getting frustrated. But yeah, that's where I was like, okay, well, I was a biter as a toddler. And I asked my mom, I was like, so what did you do? And she was like, it was so hard. And people were like, oh, she's a biter. Like, you better fix that. And I have a memory of my mom washing my mouth out with
Mm.
soap. And she's like, yeah, I don't know. I wish I wouldn't have done that because it was just a phase, you know? And I'm like, well, it's okay. I forgive you. But my mom is also now, or she was, an early childhood educator. She was a kindergarten teacher for 10 years. And so after having me and having her experience with me as a child, toddler, and then working with not toddlers, but kids, she's like, I had kids in my class all the time that would bite or hit or whatever. And so I started to just get like, okay, like Theo's expression of this is a lot. Like it's not, I wouldn't say it was normal. I would say it was not normal. But I don't feel like anything is wrong with him because I went down that rabbit hole too,
Mm.
where I was like, maybe he's fill in the blank, with a label. Maybe he is.
Like a
On the
neurodivergent
spectrum
kind of?
or
Okay.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
maybe that's a thing. But, I would, like, really not I think I Googled it, like, one time, and I was like, "It just doesn't seem like that's it." And so anyways, it was just this process of me, like, making peace with it, and, that's also when around my birthday, my, intention was to leave a legacy of love. Because I turned 31, it was my golden birthday. It was like, oh, the next 30 years is basically going to be me as a mother. And it really expanded my edges
Mm.
of being okay with how he was and how he was expressing. And even though I had moments where I would flee, I would just like, I couldn't handle it. Was not like a good example for him or in front of other parents. I still like always came back to like, okay, it just solidified my core values as a parent and like just remembering to model for him. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna model. He just needs time. He's gonna figure it out. And then the cherry on top was weaning. And I swear to God, the week after we weaned, he was like so much better.
Have you like come full circle on why or what your theories are around that?
I mean, honestly, like there's part of me that like doesn't care just because I'm just happy
Yeah.
that we've made it here.
Yeah. I know.
But yes, I mean, and it's not perfect. Like him and Rhea are just like him and Rhea could not be around each other. Like we
No.
would get together and it was
It's
basically
not a
like
good experience.
no, it was not fun for either of us. Like you were super protective around Rhea because you didn't want her to get hurt. I couldn't do anything besides modulate
Chase him around.
Theo
And
and
even
make sure
then,
he
like
didn't.
it's still,
Yeah, so it was just like, this is stupid. What are we doing?
we're not hanging out anymore.
No, basically, like, sorry. And then, but and he's still figuring it out. We had a situation where I dropped him off at the gym daycare and they were like, yeah, not sure you're going to be able to bring him back here. But anyway, yeah, it's just like, I don't know what it was about the weaning. I'm like, were we just like too hyper attached?
Like enmeshed.
Yeah, because I know for me, I do need I value a sense of independence. Like I value my alone time. And I'm like, maybe there's a part of him that needed that too, or he was just mirroring to me that like we were way too
Mm.
intertwined, I don't know. And like the way were breastfeeding, which we kind of talked about this too, is like there's no buffer when you're a stay-at-home mom in a single family unit without daycare or really any babysitters or anything. Like it's just him and I all the time, which is not really normal. And like you could say maybe it's not actually healthy, right? And so breastfeeding and the fact that we were at a certain point, I think maybe it just wasn't, it actually wasn't good for either of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now he's like been able to detach, and because I just remember like nothing I did ever worked, like nothing made a difference. And so I was like, what the heck is going on? But now it's like he like actually responds. I remember you said that, like he responded to something you did or whatever. So I don't know. We will never know for sure,
Yeah.
but it was definitely, I don't know if I want to say it was the issue or what,
That was
but it
part of the
was,
puzzle for sure.
yeah. I'm just really happy I'm just happy I like stayed strong in not losing faith, even though in moments I totally did, but like overall I was like, I kept a clear vision, and I feel like I stayed in my heart as best I could. It's a muscle that I strengthen that I feel like I'm going to need again, because every phase has its challenges. And so I'm like, okay, and we're still sort of in it, but like not the peak of it, not the most intense part of it. And so just knowing that I don't have to fix it,
Mhm.
and just to remember that, like, okay, it's a phase, because everybody says that about stuff, but and I would say like for you and Raya with like split nights, it's like that doesn't actually help me
When
right
people say
now.
it's a phase?
Yeah. Especially when it's something that's a little abnormal or like not totally like,
Well, something that's painful, let's just
yeah,
say. Like,
or just
'cause
painful.
like, right? 'Cause I'm curious, and, you don't have to go into it too much, but we have talked about you and Theo and, the physicality, but I remember asking a question and you being like, "Girl, I'm too in it. Like, I can't. I'm too in it."
Mhm.
And so I'm curious just to know you better as a friend, and perhaps someone could resonate. What is happening in your inner world? And I'm curious to know if, when it was happening, when there was no solution, and now that you have a solution and you got that contact from the daycare,
Mhm.
is it the same internal response, or is it different?
I think it's just sensitive, and I feel like he's a reflection of me when he's behaving that way, you know? Like I must be doing something wrong if my kid is
Got
being
it.
this way. So it feels personal.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
So you feel like you're failing in a sense?
Yeah. Like what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Like what am I he is this way because he's my child. So it must be me, especially since I was the one who's with him all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm the problem. I'm the problem. It's me. But yeah, so I think that's why, because it felt personal. It felt he's an extension of me. So I think that's why it was so sensitive at first. And again, like healing that part of myself, because I'm like, I wouldn't consider myself like, as we grow up and we grow out of like who we were as toddlers, I'm like, there was nothing wrong with me as a toddler. So that was always something I like tried to lean into as well too. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with him. But yeah, it just felt so personal, dude.
Yeah.
So personal.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, does it feel like that now that there's like movement out of it? Does it feel like when you got the call from the daycare that he might not be able to come back? Like, did it feel personal? Or you're just like, whatever.
I moved through it so much faster.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So it's definitely feeling, because I'm just seeing his capacity and his ability to like respond differently now. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, he's definitely moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that alone is like enough to make it not feel so hard.
Painful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
And
using the word
isolating.
painful
It's
because
painful.
that's my experience of a split night, even though, my dad is like, she's gonna grow out of it, Nikki. She's gonna grow out of it. I'm like, yeah, I know. And also, do you want to
It
get up
doesn't
and hold this shit?
make, I know.
But it's so interesting to hear you say, like, I expanded my edges, and then in response, and not immediately, but part of you expanding your edges was your ability to wean the way you did, and just be like, we're doing this, and like
Hmm.
hold him through that. Because even though it was what he needed,
Yeah.
I think we can say that, right? Like, it's what you both
Yeah. And
needed,
maybe it was what I needed.
but he needs you.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need, and that's always been my thing with weaning, like, I needed to wean holistically. Rhea needed a more grounded, regulated, spacious parent. And weaning was the way to be that. And
Mhm.
so it's what she needed too,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, because you expanded your edges, his capacity also grew. And
Yeah.
in that way, they are mirrors of us.
I know. So I always come back to that. I'm like, yeah, that's a sobering
I know.
reality when you really let that sink in.
I know.
And so, yeah, they're just it's just such a cool opportunity to have a kid so you can meet those places in ourselves at whatever phase, it is for us as toddlers, as, whatever those early memories are as teenagers, and be for them what we needed for ourselves. Like that's how we create change.
Yeah,
And then we're going to leave things for them to
totally.
do too. Oh,
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you've also shared with me, and I'm like, is this because you've been like moving through some stuff and like now you're on the other side of it and you're like, okay, now I'm ready to have another baby?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Context. At the end of last year, I was like, I think I'm one and done. I think I'm one and done, bro.
Yeah, you were.
And
No,
you were like, we're going to try at the beginning of the year. And I was like, really?
yeah, you were so like, dude, I'm like journaling about it. Like, I am not like, no. Like, I just remember there was like a voice note where you were just like, absolutely, I can't even think about it. And I was like, yeah, February. And then we've just switched.
Completely switched. Yeah. Is it triggering? It was triggering for me when I heard our friends in our little mom group talk about wanting kids around this. Actually, they were younger. You and another couple have kids younger than Rhea, and you guys both wanted kids before I was ready. And I was like, it was so triggering to me because I was like, how do you have the capacity? I don't have the capacity. There's no freaking way. And then we hit this place with Ray where it's like, she's just like hanging out here. She's just like doing her own thing and coloring and living her life and needs and wants other caretakers like the way that Theo is now. And now I'm like, oh, I could imagine like getting ready to get ready,
Getting ready to get ready. I love that.
I'm preparing to be prepared. Yeah.
Well, you do. It's funny, but like it's true.
It's a gestation.
Especially since you didn't really have that.
Yeah. It
first
feels
time.
cool to have this. And to Ryan and I have been talking about like how we want to consciously call in a child and let them know we're ready. And the truth is, I was talking to my sister. She's like, Nicole, the only way to truly prepare for having 2 kids is to just have 2 kids. She's like, there's no way to know. But yeah, where are you guys sitting now?
Well, I think a lot in our lives is changing right now for Travis and I, and we obviously moving, right? We've mentioned that, like we've moved houses, and it's just hard to, like when you haven't really created your daily life in a place, it's just a lot of bandwidth to like function day to day. And, Theo's acclimating as well too. And for the most part, it's been better, but he's just been, on the other side of weaning, it's been so much better in terms of just like handling him, right, and his behavior. But like he's a toddler and it's a lot, it's a lot for both of us. And, integrating the support system, I think that's a huge piece for me, is I really got to keep working on that. I'm like making progress right now and I'm like, oh, I need more.
Yeah, I know. It's great. It's like you realize how starved you are for it, for you time, and like, which they're mirrors.
Yeah.
Right. And so to any parents who are like maybe feeling guilty about it, because I think you and I are both leaning into it. We're like, we need it. They need it. Let's go.
They're ready for it too. Like the phases change.
Totally. Like them being out in the world in new environments.
He's not crying when I leave.
Yeah.
You remember when I like tried to start with your mom and he would like just lose it after a certain amount of time?
Yeah.
Like that's never been an issue.
Yeah.
Now it's like it's not, he's ready for it,
Well, one of the things we're going to do, which I've talked about this so much, but I'm going to share it here. Anyone who wants the idea. We are going to start trading date nights, right? So drop Ray off at your house. We go on a date. Or come back here.
Right, I know.
We both bed share. We both bed share, right? So it's like sexy time is like, it's in interesting places these days,
Yeah.
So yeah. And then you guys are going to drop Theo off and you guys can go have a date and just trade and be village like that, which I'm excited to let's just start.
Yeah. Just expanding like what child care can look like.
Yeah.
And creating it with trusted people. And
And being allo parents, I would love if in 10, 15 years, Theo's like, Nicole or Aunt Nicole, I want to talk to you about something, or
sees you guys as
and be that
friends
like,
and
a mentor,
parents.
that
Yeah.
mentor that you were talking about, that like we continue nurturing and we continue checking in with them emotionally. Like that gives me chills to think about, like having the foundation of like, I held you when you were a week old. Like I still care and I've watched you grow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's really cool. I feel like I'm just now opening up to like all of those possibilities. Especially, first year of motherhood, I was just like, so what am I doing? So stressed out. Like I didn't know what I needed. And then, after we moved through that first year, then it was like Theo's behavior was just like, I couldn't trust anybody with him. Like I did not want to put that on somebody else to like watch him around their children. But now that we've gotten to this place, he's going to be 2 in May. It's February. I'm like, okay, I'm finally with you.
Yeah.
Because you've been talking about this stuff for a while, and I'm just like,
Nicole.
I don't know what that's gonna look like, dude. Like when, how, right? But now I'm like finally here, and it's
Yay.
exciting. It's exciting, and I think that's part of why I'm also not ready for a second kid yet, because I'm just now getting to this place, and I'm like, oh, okay, I need this. I need to give myself a minute. And I'm really okay with having as much space between another kid and Theo as is needed. I know that I'll know when it's the right time.
Totally.
And I met these 2 moms at the baby shower we went to on just this weekend, and they both have only 1 kid, and they're like best friends. They're kind of like a Theo Rhea. They're similar in age, but like a couple months apart. She's older, he was younger. I was like, oh. And they're like best friends. They live across the street from each other. And I was like, so you guys just have that, like those are your only kids? And they were just like, yeah. And it's just what it is. And like I've made peace with having 1 kid, and because everybody nowadays is like they're gonna be weird. They need siblings, blah 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 blah, and all that stuff. And I'm just like, you know what? If Theo continues to be as intense as he is, and he needs a lot of bandwidth from whoever his caretakers are, I don't want to bring another kid into the world, So it's just, but there is so much to consider with,
Totally.
especially nowadays, because more kids is not always more better. I would argue,
Yes. There's so much to consider. And I feel like what you're referring to, that like he requires a lot of bandwidth, that's exactly how I felt about Rhea. And why partly it was triggering for me when other people wanted kids, because I was like, I can't do it. So that's triggering that like you can. And also this sense of like, if you have a kid like Rhea next, are you going to have the bandwidth to provide for what that kid needs? And like, that's where Village comes in totally. And
Village and knowing yourself, right? And knowing that your capacity might be different than the people who want to have 100 kids,
That's true. That's true.
Like we're all, yes, I see moms. There's like one mother who on Instagram that I know, I don't know her from real life, but I kind of, anyways.
Yeah.
Real life connections
Through the
other
grapevine.
people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know how you're doing that.
Yeah.
The way you're doing that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even know like all these things were like, how are you so relaxed?
Yeah.
And like, how did you do that the first time?
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
I'm like, oh, like just completely blowing my mind. And it makes me feel like, yeah, it just unvalidated or just not, yeah.
like less than, like
Less than.
not, yeah.
Right. And we're all like here to do different things. And so,
Totally.
but I understand the trigger, like being triggered around it.
Yeah. I also feel like, there are some people that like, they're here to be mothers and stop. Like that's, and I feel like my motherhood is part of my journey, but it doesn't feel like it's the entire pie for me. And so like when I think about my life and my highest expression, motherhood is part of it. But like, if I don't have the space to write and express, then I'm not a whole human. And I want to show Rhea and any future children like what it is to be a whole human. And not every human needs that, right? But I do. So it's just, again, knowing yourself and knowing your
Yeah.
bandwidth and what you need and being able to advocate for your needs. And one thing that has Ryan and I saying, okay, let's hold off a couple months, even though like energetically we're like, let's
Ready?
go,
Yeah.
and it just happened like from one cycle to the next. I was sad when I bled and I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. And um we have been talking about, well, if I want to maintain podcasts, if I want to maintain work in some capacity, and like when I say work, I mean like 2 to 3 hours a day. Like I don't mean,
Yeah. Like,
full time, but just something else to funnel my creative energy and expression into, then what would we need as a unit? Like, are we going to need, who else are we going to need to bring into our village? And like we talked about earlier, we hired cleaners so that I could work. Um, does my work pay for the cleaners, basically?
yeah.
But it's like,
But still,
yeah,
it's like the knowing your priorities, right? And like you could clean, but like it doesn't give you the same amount of joy and purpose, right? And fill your cup
exactly.
the same way. Yeah. And I remember too, before when I was in more of a, I don't actually remember exactly, but you were like, what do you feel like you need before you want to have a second kid? And I was like, I need to be in the house. I need to be in the house.
Yeah, you
And
did
I
say
need
that.
to stop breastfeeding. And so those two things have happened. And now I feel like it's like, okay, I need to solidify the support system.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe it'll feel like more accessible to go back into that space where I was before, where I was also like, oh, man, I had started my period. But do you remember I was like, maybe I'm pregnant? And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, there's no way. But like, maybe. Do you remember?
Mm. But I didn't know that that was the beginning of you like
I don't think so
exploring that
either.
feeling.
But yeah, so once that and that, I think, but this is me. I think I really need to prove to myself that I can show up for myself. Travis was like, you need to re-earn your Instagram handle, Sarah, because it's Move with Sarah, and you teach people movement all the time. I grew up doing gymnastics and dancing and like all this functional movement stuff. And like you asked me when you were over at my house the other day, like, so where's your stretching and like thing? I was like,
The gym twice a
I
week.
don't know.
I was like, because I started doing some
Do you
cat
still do
cows
that?
in your living room, and I was like, is this where you're gonna do yoga? And you were like, no.
I haven't thought about that. So yeah, I'm like, ugh, gosh, like I've really like not let myself go, but just like I haven't let myself be a priority, And so I
Yeah.
need to re-earn my stripes in that way.
Well, I have a question for you about your handle,
Okay.
because is your handle, and it's more of an identity question, but do you identify with that being your identity as much as it used to be? Because your husband, Travis and Sarah, moved to Boulder from Texas and opened a chiropractic office named Move, MUV. And so your handle is MUV with Sarah,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
it's part of like that business
Era.
owner identity. But
Yeah.
do you see like a rebranding in your future? Or yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm like,
I could see that for you too.
I don't move with Sarah's. She's kind of dead. I feel like,
You should have a
I'm like,
funeral for her.
yeah, like I don't, it's very Scorpio, right?
You would?
It's very Scorpio,
Yeah.
like no longer that version of myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was like associated with the business and that was like a becoming phase of me, but like it's not like I want to go back to that. Like I have no desire to teach a movement or yoga. Like I know I can and maybe like somehow in the future that would be something that I do to some capacity, but it's not anything like no.
It's not a
Yeah.
calling of your heart
No.
right now.
I love to move and like it's still something when I get back in the gym I'm like, "Oh, like I have not lost a beat besides muscle mass and strength." But like dancing and all that stuff, it's still like part of who I am and it's in my soul, but like
Mhm.
it's not my brand.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like
So,
like the way you show up, like you're the prominent way you show up.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious to see and explore with you. Like if are you gonna make yourself public when we go live with the pod? Do you want an online presence?
Part of me does, and then part of me knows that like when I don't have the capacity for it, I have not. I got on Instagram for the first time like last night or the night before. But yeah, like I will be off if I'm not off. And really it doesn't matter. Like there's no obligation to like show up consistently, really, unless
Mhm.
like I have brands that like I'm doing stuff for, but I don't really know right now. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to get there and just see. But part of me thinks it's fun. And I think Travis is always like, when you post, like, it's just great. And so I think like it's fun for me and I enjoy it and it comes naturally. But yeah, I need more
You need a
space.
space. I know.
I need
I
more
know.
space.
Never don't need more space.
Never enough space.
This was a great conversation.
Yeah, this was so, oh my gosh, it was so great to hear the story
Thank you.
from you. I'm so glad I asked and it came full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we got to talk about weaning and Theo, moving, all the things.
Second babies,
pod launch.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.